I'm going to quote the Haymaker David Haye right here. He says, if Oleksandr Usyk was my fighter, no, I wouldn't. And he's talking about, would he put him in there with Dereck Chisora right now? He says, it's too unnecessarily dangerous and there are too many unknowns before the big fight with Anthony Joshua. It sounds like a real weird thing I'm about to say, but I think Dereck Chisora's style is worse for Usyk than Anthony Joshua's style. Anthony Joshua is an Olympic gold medalist. He likes to keep things long. He likes the jab. He likes to slip. He likes to use boxing skills. Well, Usyk is like the best boxing big guy out there, you know? So it'll be a boxing match between him and Joshua, whereas Dereck Chisora isn't. That's not his thing. His thing isn't boxing. His thing is fighting, and we don't know what Usyk's like when he starts to fight. I'm not talking boxing. I'm not talking slipping, tucking up. I'm talking about when he's got to get down and dirty, when it's really getting tough, when he's getting hit around the back of the head, when he's getting pushed in the face, when he's getting hit low on the hips, on the side of the head, back of the head. When it gets real tough in there and you're starting to really feel the pace, I haven't seen him in them positions yet. Maybe he rises to the occasion, but it's an unknown. I know Dereck can. Dereck's done it time and time again, been doing it times probably when he shouldn't be doing it. He's had to go soul searching. And if it becomes a fight where it's who can drown the longest, who can take as much pain, I feel Dereck Chisora's ticked that box. Probably one of the biggest boxes being ticked for him over the years is his sort of bounce back ability and his toughness. His seasoned heavyweight campaign has been filled with tough, grueling fights where he's come back from the brink of, getting knocked out. He's come back. Just look at his first fight against Carlos Takam, Could Usyk have taken that much punishment from Carlos Takam? I don't believe so. I don't believe he's big enough or strong enough to absorb that type of punishment. Would he have needed to? Is he skillful enough to avoid all those punches? Maybe. Maybe he is, but maybe he ain't. And we'll find out on May 23rd. So those are the words of the Haymaker David Haye. Assuming the fight goes ahead on May 23rd, of course, circumstances permitting. Well, as you all know, I'm picking Oleksandr Usyk to win this fight on points. But I do agree with David Haye that given the fact Usyk is mandatory for Anthony Joshua, it does seem a bit unnecessary to take this fight. Look, I'm not complaining because I want to see it. But from a managerial perspective, I see what David Haye is talking about. It seems a little unnecessary. At the end of the day, Dereck Chisora is a very experienced man. He's very strong. He takes a shot. He's relentless. He's been in there against Klitschko. He's been in there against Haye. He's been in there against Fury twice. He's been in there against Pulev. This guy has been in with elite level operators for years. At heavyweight, he's used to the strength of big men. So Oleksandr Usyk's strength is going to be nothing to Dereck Chisora. Obviously, Usyk, I'm going to assume, is not trying to make it a physical fight. He's trying to stay away and box and use the ring, all that kind of stuff, not allow Dereck Chisora's strength to be a factor. But nonetheless, if maybe he's got an issue with his leg, if he can't move as well as he planned to move, maybe an issue with the elbow, because we know that he's got some kind of elbow injury. What if that crops up in the fight? Will that hamper his ability to throw punches and what have you? And we also have to look at ring rust. Because if this fight gets rescheduled, ring rust tends to favor, well, let me not say that. Let me reword it. A layoff tends to hurt a boxer and a mover more so than a pressure fighter. Because a pressure fighter is not, he needs a certain amount of foot speed, but what he's doing is very methodical. There's not that much, using movement and finesse and reflexes to what he does. He's basically trying to grind the opponent down. That doesn't require as much reflexes. That doesn't require as much sharpness. What Dereck Chisora does is what Usyk does. So, and there are always exceptions, but generally speaking, a guy like Chisora is not going to suffer as much from ring rust as a guy like Oleksandr Usyk. And I'm just talking style-wise in terms of what they do. the way they live their lives outside of the ring, of course, can impact on ring rust. If Dereck Chisora is not living a life, if he's blowing up to 20 stone and all this kind of stuff, then he's obviously not going to be as sharp as Usyk, even if he's fought more recently. And Dereck Chisora hasn't fought more recently than Usyk, has he? When's the last time Dereck Chisora fought? It was what was the last fight of Dereck Chisora's? The David Price fight. And Usyk has fought more recently than that. But still, the point I'm making is the ring rust, whenever this fight takes place, it might impact Oleksandr Usyk, the inactivity. So we do have to look at that. And yeah, if I was Usyk's manager, I would just wait it out, truth be told. Wait for that Joshua fight. And if I was going to take a fight in the interim, I would pick somebody not as hungry as Dereck Chisora, because Dereck Chisora can still rise to the occasion and be ferocious in the ring. After all the losses he's had and all that kind of business, if there's a particular fight that whets his appetite, he'll get himself up for it. If I was trying to keep Oleksandr Usyk busy from a managerial perspective, and just keeping the ring rust off, I put him in there against a big, tall guy who doesn't have the same kind of fire as Dereck Chisora, because that would, from a technical point of view, give him some target practice against the guy the dimensions of Anthony Joshua. Maybe he could fight somebody like, let's say, what's the guy called now? Dimitrenko. Could fight him. Could fight somebody like Bogdan Dinu. It's a big, tall guy who Usyk can use. I wouldn't say Povetkin a few seconds ago. Apologies if I did. But a big, tall guy with similar dimensions to AJ who he can practice some of his tactics and techniques on. That's what I would do, rather than Chisora, which, yeah, it's a name. We get it. If Oleksandr Usyk beats Dereck Chisora and does it well, does it, 120, 108 or something, if he does that, it's going to cause headlines, right? Because people know Dereck Chisora. They can compare his performance against Chisora to David Haye's performance, Tyson Fury's performance, Kubrat Puller's performance, etc., etc. So there's a certain amount to gain there in terms of making the fans, beyond the fans he already has, sit up and take notice and think, okay, Usyk is serious in the heavyweight division. He dealt with Dereck Chisora handily. He dealt with him better than Dillian Whyte did, for example. Dillian Whyte struggled in both fights, truth be told. Even though he knocked out Dereck Chisora finally, in the end, it wasn't easy for him, was it? And when I say struggled, Dillian Whyte wasn't getting beaten up or anything in the rematch, but it was very close. And in fact, the judges had Dillian Whyte behind, even though Dillian wasn't taking that much clean punishment or anything. But if Usyk goes in there and just totally finesses Dereck and beats him hands down, well, that's going to look better than the Dillian Whyte wins, isn't it? So I can see how Usyk could benefit from beating Dereck Chisora, but is it worth the risk? Probably not. So, yeah, I see where David Haye is coming from, but from a fan perspective, boxing fan, I want to see this fight. I think it's fascinating. Yes, I expect Oleksandr Usyk to win, but an upset wouldn't shock me. It would surprise me a little, but it wouldn't shock me. It's heavyweight boxing at the end of the day, and Usyk is a newcomer to the heavyweight division. And as skilled as he is, when you get in there with a guy who's just too physically strong for you, sometimes his strength and his toughness can overwhelm your extra skill. I'm not expecting that to happen, but you never know. It's possible. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about David Haye's comments with regards to Chisora Usyk. Obviously, look, he's going to hype up his guy. We all know that. I know there's going to be some smart asses in the comments saying, oh, man, of course Haye's going to say that. He's his fighter. If he was neutral, he'd be saying Chisora ain't got no chance. Yeah, I get it. Haye is a salesman. He's going to say what he's going to say. But in this particular instance, I think he does have a point. Would you put Oleksandr Usyk in with Dereck Chisora if you were managing him, knowing that he's got a guaranteed shot against Anthony Joshua, knowing that he's got this elbow injury, knowing that he could be out for a while in terms of inactivity, and he didn't look great against Chaz Witherspoon? Would you put your guy in there? You see, when you're a manager, it's different than being a fan. When you're a manager, you worry more. See, you have to understand, and I'm talking to boxing fans in general here, when managers talk up their fighters, that's when they're talking from a sales perspective, and that's when they're talking from a fan perspective. But as a manager, you have to think about worst case scenarios. That's part of being a good businessman. Whether you're Al Heyman, whether you're, any manager out there, you have to think, what if it all goes wrong? The fighter doesn't have to think like that. The fighter's supposed to think about, I'm going to win and this guy can't beat me. But as the manager, you have to think about the other side. If you're not thinking about contingency plans and what happens if it goes wrong, then you're not going to do very well in the business. You have to prepare for the worst. That's why managers help to put rematch clauses in contracts, because you're thinking about what if it goes wrong. Your fighter might be 1,000,000,000% certain that they're going to win. But you as the manager are going to say, okay, cool, you be certain, but I'm not you. I don't know what's in your head, how you feel, this, that, and the other. And heavyweight boxing is a very, very unpredictable game. So as confident as you are, it would make me feel better as your manager if we just put a rematch clause in there. That way we're all covered. That is the thinking of a manager. And David Haye, from a manager's perspective, when he says he wouldn't put Usyk in with Chisora, on that one point, I actually believe him. I actually don't think that that's just hype talk from David Haye, because we know David Haye is economical with the truth and actually very creative when it comes to the truth. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's Hatman, I'm out. Hatman merch is now available. We got t-shirts, vests, hoodies, and more. Just click the link below. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.